Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw!
Hey, this is David the AM with the Southern Fried Podcast. We are now an affiliate of Podbean. Podbean is an audio platform which helps you get your voice out there. You can go online and go live from your very phone that you use. You don't have to have a lot of special equipment. It's nice to have a studio, but it's expensive. You can do those things from your phone. Hey, I was a listener of Podbean before I even became a podcaster. Maybe you've thought about being one. There was a time when I didn't think about being a podcaster, but think about it. You've got things to share. It could be as simple as baking, or it could be working on a car. The stories are endless that you could come up with to be a podcaster. And there are people out there that want to listen and to your stories and to your shows. And we're thankful for all those that watch and listen to us. Podbean is now an affiliate of the Southern Fried Podcast. Unless you're a business plan, that would be the bottom one. The one on top, use that. You'll get discounts, and also the Southern Fried Podcast benefits in this as well. I love Podbean. They also help launch out to many other audio sites. This saves me time. Time is precious. Time to be on the podcast, time for research, time to be with family, and yes, time to work. Yes, we still work out there in the workforce. So become a podcaster. Use Podbean, and when you use these links, one of them, you will save money, and you'll also help the Southern Fried Podcast. Thanks so much for all your support. Take care. We'll see you soon. And welcome back to the podcast. We have switched gears, recorded a Veteran of the Week, and now we're back with Southern Talk. We're going to look at some state news a little bit. Time would not permit us to look at everything, but I do want to look at a couple of news items of note, especially in light of things that are going on this week, even tomorrow with the Super Bowl, and some other things due to sickness. And we'll glance around and see what we see. We hope you have a great Saturday. It's almost into the afternoon, and it is a. I hope it's pretty. I'm looking through the window of the studio. It's absolutely beautiful. I do have to work this afternoon, but I'll be out in it. It's good duty. I get to meet with the public and talk to people, and it's all good. So as they say. So I'm looking forward to being out there and making a little money as well. And then tomorrow is church and other things. And so, welcome back. We this show was always intended to really look at states, and we'll talk about whatever involved in states. It could be a place of destination. It could be a fun vacation spot. There's places that I still want to get to, and uh, probably never will get to all of them in my life. But there's others that I've visited recently, and some that I'm gonna hoping to get to here in the near future. And it's not just we're in the South. That's why it's called Southern Talk. But also those states, wherever they are, that you might want to visit, to have wonderful state parks. California is filled with them, and we absolutely love the state parks and what they offer, small to big. Sometimes people talk about the big ones, and they certainly deserve. And I mean big because of size and because also that they're well known, whether it's Redwood or whatever it is, Gettysburg, and those are amazing. But sometimes find you a little small state park that has something really unique to offer. It's not very big, and you can actually find, sometimes, not always, but sometimes you'll find out that these are not they're not as well attended. They don't have they just don't have as many people come to them unless there's something really big going on. This was the case of an event that I went to recently with I went to a small state park for a nighttime talk about cryptids involving the Cherokee Indians, and wasn't that many people there, a handful, but you can find things to do. Some of the parks are overcrowded. You have to get tickets for events. I was able to go to this park, and there wasn't 20 people there for this event. So don't always look at those. Um, don't always look at those big ones and go to, because I've talked to people and you have to get some of those tickets months in advance, if not a year, and there's a lot of cost to that. So uh, it's fun to do. There's a lot of, and they appreciate you coming, because some of them are some of my son's in here and he's wanting to grab my phone, and I'm fixing to read an article from there. So give me just a minute there, son. We'll go ahead and read this article. I'll let get me set up on my new one, I guess, as long as you don't mess me up for clocking in at work, because I'll be doing that later. But I did want to cover this article. Be careful out there. There's news out of Nashville, Tennessee. I was using my phone as so I can look this up real quick. There are a number of states that the flu is doing a double rebound, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, it has hit, and it has now hit again. And so, in the Middle Tennessee School District, or several Tennessee middle school districts have closed their doors, completely closed them, and they're undergoing deep cleaning, excuse me, and uh, trying to allow these people not to be around each other before they get around and make people further sick. They're calling it a double peak, according to Dr. Todd Rice, professor of medicine with the Vanderbilt University Medical Center, Division of Allergy and Pulmonary and Critical Care. Quote, we are starting to see a little bounce from the first peak, and it came down. Now it's going back up again. So there are more than a dozen states with a very high level of flu-like illness for the week that ended 1st of February. And hospitals are packed. And I have people they go to my church that are involved with the hospitals, and they're absolutely very strong as far as the census and how many's there. This is the last thing I want to say. You get very high fevers, a bad cough, and muscle aches that are just debilitating, and they make you so you can barely get out of bed. Well, we understand what the flu does, so be careful out there. There's more than a dozen states, and it's making a peak right now to those states, to those areas, and nobody wants the flu. I do know people that currently have suffered with flu, and it has been bad, and so that may be you. So be careful out there. uh, Thing you do not need, and that's not far out of my area. And in fact, in this Chattanooga area, there is the hospitals have been. I don't know what the current census is, but there's a lot of people sick. Some will say, "Well, it's that time of year," but sometimes there's these things run even worse. They're much more aggressive than they are in some areas. So just be careful with that. Well, the Super Bowl, is in Atlanta, and we're going to talk about, excuse me, in Louisiana. We're going to talk about a story from there in just a minute. But back to my state, in the state of Georgia, going on what President Trump is doing and the efforts against the gangs. Attorney General of Georgia Chris Carr, according to WSB TV, has announced the launch of Operation, quote, Hold the Line. Hold the Line. It's a multi agency effort that targets transnational gangs. Violent gangs such as this Trendaruga gang that started in Venezuela prison have spread their operations across at least 16 states, and Georgia is one of those. Carr says the gangs like these engage in human trafficking, organized retail crime, weapon smuggling, and drug trafficking in Georgia. Both brothers of this Joja Barra, who we know the story, killed tragically Laken Riley. God rest her and her name, and rest in peace. And pray for her family. Just so tragic. They've been linked to this gang, along with Carr's gang prosecution unit, his human trafficking prosecution unit, and his organized retail crime unit. Participants in the operation will include local, state, and federal law enforcement partners. This article ends, my message to these gangs is clear. Georgia is not and will never be a safe haven for violent criminals. We will track you down, prosecute you, and dismantle your operations. And I say amen to that. There's a lot of bad stuff out there with these gangs. So, uh, and it's horrible, and these people shouldn't even be here, and we're seeing that. So, let's hope that holds true. Georgia's had a problem with it for some time. Human trafficking in around the Atlanta areas has been of course, you have the interstate system that runs up into the whole eastern seaboard, and those are gateways to all this stuff: the drugs, the human trafficking, you name it. And I'll tell you something else has been going on. This has been happening in some of the smaller outlying cities. In fact, not long ago in the Blue Ridge area of Georgia, there was a cabin that was rented, and some of these people had came out of these criminal elements had came out of an area, and what they believed they were doing, they had taken these females, and there was probably sex trafficking going on, but also organ harvesting. They had because of all the money that can be had in organs around the world, because there's a shortage of them. They were believed they were engaged in that activity. It was going on right under their noses. They had no idea. So they were trying to get out of an area where there's much more law enforcement presence available to an area that doesn't have as much, and they may not be up to date on all that's going on. That's nothing against them. They don't usually see that. And so they're getting out into the outliers. So it's not just a city crime or a major city crime. It is getting out into outlying areas, into rural areas where they feel like they can hide out a little more, and then make their way back into the bigger cities to make their transactions, whether it's drugs, the human trafficking, or organ harvesting. And this has become huge. It sounds like something out of some third world nation. That's right here in the state of Georgia. So I applaud his work in this area, and I hope that they will apply a lot of effort there, because I think they could have done a lot more in the in that. So it's just horrible, and that as we see that. So I mean, you could go on with that forever, but let's pray that's cleaned up pretty quick. A tragic story out of the Super Bowl area. A Kansas City reporter covering the Super Bowl dies in Kenner. This is from W44L, or excuse me, 4WWL. Got that backwards, a little dyslexic on the reading there. 27-year-old Aidan Mazzano, a true professional with a passion for sports, died Wednesday. The Kenner Police Department is investigating his death, of course, in the New Orleans area. He died Wednesday evening. Police confirmed Thursday. He was in the city to cover the Super Bowl for Telemundo, Kansas City, and Tico Sports. Telemundo released a statement on Facebook calling him a true professional and a rising star. Um, they spoke. The station spoke with Steve Downing, the station's general manager, and he worked at Telemundo for 3 years. Had recently begun anchoring, in addition to his duties as a reporter. Um, he had a passion for sports, and that passion led him to do great work, and always with a smile, enthusiastic and very well loved and appreciated by the sports teams that he covered there. His death hit obviously the newsroom very hard. It's a small operation, so they'll be missing a family member. Kenner Police Department is investigating his death, and a spokesperson said first responders were contacted by hotel staff around 5 p.m. Wednesday after finding him. No cause of death has been announced, but the spokesman said there were no signs of trauma. So pray for this person who was his wife was killed in a car accident in April. So very sad. You just go to a store, go there to cover a major sporting event, and this happens. But if you go on to um, a little deeper into this story, that was the initial. A suspect has been arrested in connection with that death, and this is from Fox 8 in Kenner, Louisiana. A suspect has been arrested in connection to the death of a Kansas City reporter who was on assignment in New Orleans to cover the Super Bowl. And they go on with some similar information. Um, and so without knowing a whole lot about it, they have arrested Danette Colbert of Slidell after discovered that she was allegedly using his credit card at several stores in the New Orleans area. Investigators say they have reviewed security footage that shows Colbert with Manzano on Wednesday morning. Investigators also say that Colbert can be seen on video leaving his hotel room later that morning. He was found unresponsive in the hotel room. So maybe, sometimes people, well, I don't know, and I don't want to speculate, but sometimes you come into a situation like the businessman that came in the last time at a Super Bowl, and he got out and got connected up with some people that were not, they were not good people, and they actually, he actually got killed too, and it was over drugs. Hang on, son, just a second. We're on a quick commercial break. I'll be right back. Let me touch base with him real quick, and I promise you I'll be right back, and we'll see you in a minute. Hey, this is Robin Dave with the Southern Fried Podcast. One of our shows that we love the most is Front Porch Talking. Our Friday night show, which starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, has become a tradition here at the Southern Fried. We appreciate you so much for stopping by on the front porch where we grab our sweet tea or coffee or whatever we're drinking and just sit on the front porch, wave at the neighbors as they go by, and just have a great discussion. We usually don't have a topic or theme. We just like to talk, and we like for you to stop by on the front porch as well. It's a Southern tradition, and Rob and Dave, we're all about the South. We live here in the state of Georgia, and all through the South or throughout wherever you live in the United States or the world, remember, as Rob says, it's a Southern state of mind. Join us each Friday night at 8 p.m. with our friends. Become part of that Cornbread Nation Breadhead crew, and join us on the front porch, and let's talk. Thank you so much. Join the Southern Fried Podcast each Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Sunday Morning in the Word. That would be the Word of God, of course. Maybe you're getting ready to go to church, or maybe you can't go to church. Maybe you're homebound or not able to go, not feeling well. Well, we hope to give you a little church before you go to church. And extra church is not going to hurt any of us. So join us each Sunday morning at 8 a.m. and we'll dive into the Word of God and have a few thoughts that'll get you started in your day. I hope you will read your Bible each and every day and pull out your Bibles on Sunday morning and follow along. And we'll just have a good time in the Lord Jesus together. So join David Cordell every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock for Sunday Morning in the Word with the Southern Fried Podcast. God bless. All right, we're back. Sorry, folks. I was trying to switch over a phone. You know how it is. You get a phone crash and your phone comes in and they just trying to help me out. So, but let's pray for those folks. That's unfortunate that that occurred. But you get in these, and we don't know the story, but you get into you get out of town and you get into community, and you just meet up with her. Or they hanging out together. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she just saw an opportunity. We really don't know the story, but that is so unfortunate. Can we not have a Super Bowl without having deaths? I mean, I know people die every day, but it seems like murders around. That's what they're holding. I mean, murders around Super Bowls, and certainly Atlanta had that happen way back. The whole. The two men that were killed, and seemingly there was these people that were connected to Ray Lewis, and then we had that businessman. He got down there, and another one, and it just seems like I know you get a lot of people in one area, a lot of people from out of town, and they're in a city. Be careful when you do stuff like that. That is just tragic. I hate that. That's going on. Good grief. Well, let's look around, see what else we can see as we look at some of the news, and I hope things are good where you're at, and mostly it's good where I'm at. No real problems, but we see that. Let's see. I was talking to some folks. In fact, we have a interview with them. We're going to be releasing that on February 14th, and they were talking about they used to live in Richmond, Virginia at one time. There's a lot of people obviously moving across the nation, and we've seen that in our area. And in Richmond, Virginia, since 2020, over 52,000 people have moved to that area and made the Commonwealth their new home, according to University of Virginia's Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service study. And there are several counties and cities in central Virginia based on the data collected by that. And it's showing that there's a color map there if you want to look on this news site, which is ABC 8 News. We give them full credit of them moving into the area. So population growths have been moving strong. Our county has exploded. Housing is starting to boost up, which is good news for our area. I mean, I'm in the flooring business, so you want to see that happening. But there are a number of areas that have been blessed by this move: Chesterfield, Henrico, Hanover, Petersburg. Obviously, we think of the Petersburg, and the history of that around the war. They saw 1,000 new residents in that area in that time frame. So we're seeing a lot of that, and not all of these are just from the United States. Some of these are people moving into the nation from different countries. Italy, we've had folks from Italy move into our area as well as others. And so people that are, maybe have dual citizenship, or they became U.S. citizens and they're moving into the area. And so we're seeing that as people move from these California and some other places. And Tennessee's become a destination too because of no tax, as well as Arizona and Texas. And they're saving money on without having that tax. So I met some folks here a while back that had moved. They were moving from Sacramento, California. They were moving across, and they were looking at all the states on the eastern seaboard, and they were trying to find something that was kind of a suburbish, I think, but had small town feel. So they're, be out, but not out too far. But still have community, and also be able to go into, sorry, door open in a studio and wanted me out there. But we have seen that area a lot as subdivisions are going up, and there is literally thousands of people moving into the area. The I-75 corridor expansion of those areas outside of Atlanta, that saw a boom. New businesses are moving in along that corridor, especially around the Cartersville, Dyersville area. And there are other areas that are seeing that boom. Bradley County in Tennessee is also seeing that. Again, going up that corridor, and there are people moving in. Jobs are there, and these companies are seeing that, and they're moving into the area. So that's happening a lot. So if you're in those areas, you understand that. And the traffic backlog. And may I say, the state of Tennessee, you got to get the money up. You just got to do it, please. 75 has got to be expanded. The 2 lanes each way is not working. It's overload, and when you travel up through there, you're in trouble. I mean, if you better not want to get anywhere quick. Of course, the Chattanooga area is seeing a lot of expansion to their interstate system, and there are backlogs, and so there's going to be backup, and all these people are moving in, these businesses moving in, and there's just not enough room for the cars. They're going to have to expand the interstate system. The federal government's going to have to help with this. And get because it's just lockdown city, and really all the way up through, and even in Virginia, 81, just there's so many people, and it's nice to have progress. It's nice to see people moving in, businesses, jobs coming. You gotta have the infrastructure for that, and that's the problem. We get out ahead of that, then we spend decades catching up, and by the time we're caught up, it's too late anyway. More has happened. This is phase 3, I think, in the Chattanooga area on the 75-24 split and all this stuff. And if you've been through that area, we have a lot of people travel through going to Florida, and so it's a connecting point. And so you see a lot of problems there. By the way, Spartan in the last live, he said I sounded like somebody, and I went over there. No, we're not politically the same. But I did go over there and listen to the gentleman, and I can see some similarities between me and him. I do, but that's where it stops. If you wasn't in that live, trust me, that's where it stops. It just popped in my head as I thought about that. Nothing against them, but that's not my. I was wondering if I went on a list somewhere for viewing that. But I'm thankful for it was on Rumble. Thankful, because I think if I went there with other things, I'd probably gotten struck. I'll just say it that way. But oh boy. Oh, let's move over to Mississippi. Remember having to spell that? You've said the little song or whatever. Mississippi. The legislature has now advanced a second piece of legislation to ban DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and written materials within institutions of higher education. However, different proposals have now both passed, or here I'm dyslexic again, both passed in the Senate and House, setting up a potential for further debate before a final bill makes its way out of the legislature and onto the governor's desk, if it even gets that far. A day after the Mississippi House of Representatives passed a ban on DEI programs and materials within the public schools, the Mississippi Senate passed a similar bill, a ban bill on DEI on public universities and colleges. Senate Bill 2515 passed the Senate Thursday evening after more than an hour of debate, and it was strictly along party lines, passing 34-14. Senator Tyler McGowan of Newton, Republican Newton, who with Senator Nicole Boyd of Republican Oxford, were the principal authors and defended the legislations as a way to remove giving preference to hiring or admissions to any one group. House Bill, at no point are we doing anything to make an attempt to destroy education in Mississippi. You know, there's this, Mississippi has its history, right, because of things back in the 60s. So it's always hot, hot issue. We're only trying to make it better, McCone said. It does not mean we are abandoning diversity. The bill would define DEI as anything to influence anyone in a public university on ideas such as race, sex, color, or ethnicity, apart from ensuring colorblind and sex-neutral admissions and hiring according with state and federal anti-discrimination laws. It would also restrict any training or teaching of related materials. There would be some exemptions for scholarly research. For example, the bill would also seek to study the efficiency of the state's public universities to understand the state's higher education graduation rates and what universities can do to be more, quote, efficient. Several Senate Democrats spoke against the bill, likening the legislations to an attempt to remove protections for minority groups from higher education that were established to reverse hundreds of years of racial injustice. What diversity and inclusion, equity and inclusion does is as a mechanism that opens the door for me that your fathers or your grandfathers or somebody down the road opened for you, Senator Rod Hickman, Democrat Macon, said. DEI over the last several years has become a boogeyman, as Senator Bradford Blackman, Democrat Kenton, put it on for Republicans that claim that it's simply, quote, woke policy and is unnecessary. GOP backlash reached a fever pitch during presidential Donald Trump's 2024 campaign. While on the campaign trail, Trump vowed to eliminate DEI efforts. During his first week in office, we know he made executive action. So these are now out there. Will they make it to the governor's desk? That's to be seen. And will they leave that desk? That's a whole nother thing to be seen. And so, as you know, this is interesting to look at this because you're looking at what President Trump has done on the national level as it filters down into the state level, and the different states battle this out. Hence, states' rights, and what they do with that federally. So there's different. That's important to realize. Some people see what happens on a federal level, and that's one level. But then you have the state level, and that's another level. Then you get down into cities and counties and all that stuff. But this is the fight that goes on. I would appeal to anybody that whatever state you live in, at some point, take time to go to your state capital during the session, the legislative session, and see what goes on. Contact your state senator, House member, and get an invite. You can do that. Work with them, and they'll even let you, come in and come into on the Senate or the House floor, and kind of see how things go. Introduce you around, and you meet people, and this is how you learn how things go in your state, in your government, and how things, how things work. Making sausages, they call it, as all the massive amount of negotiation that goes on to these bills. Further, you could go to your state. Rules committees. I was trying to find the words. Go to the rules committees where these bills live and die. because if they don't leave rules, they never will make it to the governor's desk for sure. Those are powerful committees. Pay attention to who's on the rules committees and who is the chair of the rules committee. And this is the group that will decide what bills have life and what bills get put on the cutting room floor, as they say. And I've had an opportunity to be in there, and it goes very fast. So if you kind of want to have an idea of what's going to happen, your senator can help you, or your House member can help you out with that. Because when you get in there, you'll hear a lot of them step up to make an emotion for a bill, and if you're in the know, you already know that bill is, as they say, dead on arrival, DOA. It'll never pass out of rules. So they'll still make the motion, and it could be reworked and brought back again before the end of the session, given certain circumstances. But most likely it will not. When you go to the Rules Committee, that committee will decide what gets put forward. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to become law. Again, it could be further debated, it could be adjusted. There's a lot of things that can happen. But if it doesn't leave there, it's not got a chance, a snowball's chance, as they say, usually. Then it has to go, it has to survive the vote on the floor and in both houses. And then it has to go to the governor. And the governor themselves can, stop that from going forward and defeat it. So it's a lot of work to get. There's a great video out there. There's one I'm trying. Prager University does one. I think it's on the federal level, and it's how does a bill become law, and it's kind of cute. And if you've ever been to Prager, they do a lot of videos, and they're broken down into 5 minute things, 3 to 5 minutes, and there's one on just the presidents that's real interesting. I need to go over and watch some more videos. You don't have to agree with everything Prager stands for, but Dennis Prager. But it's interesting, and there's one that's about the bills and how does a bill become a law, and it's cute. I'd encourage you to go to do that. I need to pull that down. We might just share that in one of our programs. I think we can do that. I don't think they'd mind that, and because we're just trying to promote their give them full credit, but they're cute, and that's educational because a lot of people don't know how those things work. I mean, some of you listening, y'all may be experts, and I'm just uh, flailing away here. But I have been to take Capitol. I have been there, and down votes, and so I've seen these things, and I've been in the Rules Committee at least once, maybe twice, in the room. It's not a big room usually either, so you got to want to get there early. That's the thing when you go to the legislative session. Lots of things going on at the same time. You got to have a little bit of a guide, kind of know where you need to be. And of course, even if you're not, there at the invitation of your senator or house member, you can go up in the galleries and watch from there. And in fact, before this session is out, I think I'll go down. I would like to go down and do that. I'd like to go down just as a podcast because there's not a whole lot you can do because you got to leave everything in your car. Word of wisdom: if you go for yourself and what other party members are with you, meaning party that's in your party, not a particular party. I'm just talking about those people that travel with you. Make sure you do not make a fool of yourself and walk up to the security pocket. You're not going to enjoy kind of jumping around here, so I apologize for that. We're fixing to go to a new computer and be plugged into our Wi-Fi. We're doing just through the Wi-Fi. We'll be plugged. That's going to happen this week, so I apologize for that. But yeah, do that, and take part in your state government. Now, is it a hassle? The parking and everything. Yeah, it's busy early in the morning. If you can afford it, I'd go down there and stay close and walk. You're going to have to park and walk anyway, but if you go early, go early. And it's a little stress you out getting into these. A lot of one-way streets, and every capital's different. Atlanta has its own issues with traffic. In fact, there's not a lot of. I mean, you got to park in parking decks, and then you have to figure out how to walk your way over, and then you got to get. It's a beautiful capital, and there's a lot of things to see inside and outside, statues and things that are historical. A lot of reading you can do. and then just get a speak to someone, get a guide, but it's going to be busy. There's a lot of people there, in and out, and it can be mass confusion, organized chaos. Neat though, in the Capitol they have charging stations for your phones and stuff. That's kind of cool because uh, you can't carry around a lot of stuff when you come into a place like that. So that's kind of cool. And if you're in the Georgia area and around Atlanta, the Capitol, there's a lot of neat eateries around, not too far from the Capitol, that you can eat at. So I'd encourage you to do that and watch how these things are debated. I also watch, the powerful lobbyists that they're there on the request of energy and healthcare and every other kind of thing that goes on. There's a lot of different money. Well, there's a lot of money that flows as they're trying to um, get their get these things passed, and you'll see those too. Um, let's see here. Let's go to Alabama. Alabama. All right, Alabama residents voice frustrations over missing mail as complaints against the United States Postal Service grow. This is in Kansas, Alabama. We're not in Kansas, the state. We're in Kansas, Alabama. Missing packages, and by the way, ABC 30, 33, 40. Missing packages and mail have left many Alabama residents frustrated with complaints mounting against the U.S. Postal Service, says Susan Sullivan, a Kansas resident, is among those affected. She said she sent homemade Christmas ornaments and a 100-year-old manger scene to her daughter in California, but the package never arrived. My daughter said she would love to have the Christmas ornaments. She shipped the items back in November, but despite, uh, uh, excuse me, ad popped up. Despite tracking weekly and calling for updates, the package was missing. They didn't do anything but give you a canned donation, she said. Sullivan expressed her disappointment, saying she won't trust the Postal Service with irreplaceable items again. How do you replace 50 years of memories? Questioned Sullivan. Ironically, Sullivan's late husband was a lifelong post office supervisor, go figure, right? Whom she said did his job meticulously. The issue is not isolated to Sullivan. Residents in Moundville and Brookwood have, it sounds like they had a local problem, right? Uh, just saying. I've also taken to social media to voice their frustrations. Lena Brookwood residents, we're good a couple of days, then goes a whole week, 2 weeks. Added that retrieving packages from the local post office has been challenging. We've gone up there to get our packages and they refuse to talk or give us the package, she said. Ward noted that the delays are not just inconvenient but costly. We just ordered car parts and spent $20 to get a different carrier. The Postal Service, in a statement, told ABC 3340 News, regarding service in Birmingham and the surrounding area, we can confirm that all mail and packages are being processed and delivered as soon as they enter the mail system. The mail and package volumes are current in these locations. The Postal Service is now working directly with Sullivan to resolve her lost package. But that's been missing, by the way, Senator Tommy Tuberville's office today, they were ready to help and to speed up on the issue. So, that's, you see those kinds of things, because this has been ongoing. This started in November and they didn't arrive, and this is February and they're still missing. And so they're frustrated. So I've had this happen twice. Once I had won a bid on some very old religious manuscripts. And one of them came in, although the package was kind of ripped, and I think I might have damaged one. But there was one I ordered out of St. Louis, Missouri, and I never got it back. Somebody got it. I won that at a nice bid too. It was a really nice, I was using them in presentations, and I was trying to get us some different ones. And I just never got it. Recently, I've had a package that was opened up, I guess, 2 iPhones. We get 1 phone delivered, and we've gotten all that taken care of. Had to file a police report. So be careful, in your deliveries. I mean, we're kind of at the mercy of it, right? I mean, some people only use certain things. I get it. It's maybe a little more expensive, but also in Alabama, they had an execution, and that doesn't happen in every state. Demetrius Frazier was executed by nitrogen gas for the 1991 murder. I know there's been a great fight through many of the southern states about executions and about what they use. This is ongoing. It's always a hot issue within the United States. Some states won't do it. California has banned it. But there are many states who do continue to execute these murderers, but they've tried to attack them over the drugs they use. Of course, the electric chair, I don't think anybody's using it, although it may be an option. Firing squad is an option in some areas. But the drugs that they use in the as now there's other things being used, and so there's a lot of this gas is being used here. This is out of Atmore, Alabama. He was put to death by nitrogen gas hypoxia for the 1991 rape, robbery, and murder of a Birmingham woman named Pauline Brown. God bless her memory and her family. This execution is the fourth ever of its kind. The previous three have been contentious points of conversation nationwide because of the controversial method that the state of Alabama first used in January 2024. I've been somewhat keeping up with this story, and due to my proximity to Alabama, I hear a little more about it, I think. But this has been in the news quite a bit over time. Frazier remained in legal custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections, a state where the death penalty was outlawed in 1847. I didn't know that. But he was executed in Alabama, where he was transferred under an arrangement made in 2011. Quote, "In Alabama, we enforce the law," end quote, Governor Kay Ivey said in a statement released after Frazier was declared dead. Quote, "You don't come to our state and mess with our citizens and get away with it. Rapists and murderers are not welcome on our streets, and tonight justice was carried out for Pauline Brown and her loved ones. I pray for her family after all these years later. They can continue healing and have assurance that Demetrius Frazier cannot harm anyone else," end quote. Frazier, who was 52 at the time of death, was convicted of capital murder for breaking into Brown's apartment, stealing as much cash as he could get from her, and raping her at gunpoint before killing her. Frazier has also been convicted of first-degree murder in Michigan for the murder of a 14-year-old girl. He was officially pronounced dead at 6:36 p.m., and that was a couple days ago. So the timeline, they have a timeline here, and I don't really care what his last words and what his last meal was and all that. No disrespect to his family. I'm just not going to take time to read that. But that's an interesting dynamic. He was convicted in 2 different states of murder, but one state has had it banned for, I didn't realize it had been that long. I've educated myself today. I did not know that it was outlawed way back in 1847 in Michigan. That's interesting. If you knew that, pop that in the chat. But Alabama they've been trying to attack their execution methods in the state for some time now. And so that's interesting. But anyway, justice to Miss Pauline Brown. And that is a horrible, horrible story all the way around. And to the other family, the 14-year-old. My goodness. And I'll just be quiet. I'll just be quiet, I guess you could say. Let's shift around here a little bit. This is kind of fun. Thank you for staying with me. And if you have a major news story from your area you'd like to cover, also in Tennessee, we're covering the Evelyn Boswell trial of the little young child, 1-year-old child, I think she was around one, who was killed, and her mother is on trial right now. And that trial it's the first week. Well, they'll be having a trial today. They're going through Saturday. So I've been trying to keep up. I was reading a lot last night and early this morning about that case as the prosecution is presenting its, this is 6 years later. 6 years this has been going on. But Evelyn Boswell, justice for her. Sad story. The most shocking thing out of that case was the fact that where they found her and the condition, all that, but she had tinfoil around her face. That's horrible, I know, to hear, but go research that. And people are just perplexed. They've not heard that before. This just came out during the trial. The boyfriend had all kind of mental issues, drug issues, whatever, but who's blaming who and all that's going on right now. But this whole idea of this, the tinfoil, it's truly tragic. And I don't know for sure, but some believe that, we haven't heard all the medical examiner yet, or even got to him. And I think that people are wondering, was she alive when that was put around her face? Horrible. We have this whole idea about uh, information can't be stolen or whatever with tinfoil and all that. It's a weird dynamic. But I'm following that case in Tennessee as well. And there was a reporter who got shellacked in that trial. He stopped testimony for, I think it was either defense attorney or prosecutor. He stopped him for a minute and dressed down a reporter for a local news organization who had a flash go off in the courtroom, and buddy, he let her have it. So um, go read that. We want it covered, but you can't have flash going over it. Probably made a great, but probably was. I'm sure it was. Surely it wasn't intended to go like that in this day and time. Flash, really, inside of a lit courtroom. I mean, I don't know what was going on with that. But you are now legend. All right, article out of Durham, North Carolina. Let's go to North Carolina. Troubleshooter helps Durham man get long-awaited refund from Tesla. That's interesting. A Durham man had warranty woes after he canceled an extended warranty on his car. Have you ever had this happen? I've had warranty issues on car. I went. Again, it was an extended warranty outside of the dealership, and I didn't see one part of it. And I had a bad experience at a dealership in Atlanta, GA. And talking about losing your temper, I lost it that day. I was so angry. And they charged me up. Well, the reason I was mad, not that it was out, that they get you on length of time and mileage. I didn't notice the mileage part. I was just slightly over. I told them not to do anything to the vehicle until they checked the warranty to make sure it's good. Well, did they do that? No. They pulled her in and did, I don't know, a couple $100 worth of looking it over and wanted to charge me that after I told them not to do that. And then they said, well, the warranty's no good. I said, I told you to check and let me know. And so the service manager would not even come out and talk to me. And then they threatened to call the police. I went in and talked to the salesman. I talked to different people. I got the shaft. I can tell you that. That's where I bought the car. I drove back down. I went to a place up in town, and they said they didn't take that type. Go back to the dealer you had, where you got it, and I did. And the other dealer did me bad too. They charged me that they didn't honor it. You see how they do? It just makes me so mad. Anyway, he said I printed out the warranty before I made that decision. I read the fine print, and it's very specific, Cliff Park said. The details are often in the small print, and Park said he followed the instructions to cancel his extended warranty with Tesla. Print out a form, hand carry it to Raleigh to the service center, turn it in, Park said. He said he turned in the cancellation form and got an email confirmation from a Tesla representative that everything had been submitted. Waited a couple of weeks, and I finally emailed and said, could you follow up again? Could you follow up again? Could you follow up again? The next thing, I knew 6 months had gone by, Park said. Park said he reached out again to try to see when his refund would come. The 1st November, I said, this is my last email. I'm going to call this troubleshooter that works for this TV station out there. Parks told ABC 11 troubleshooter Diane Wilson that he had heard nothing from Tesla. He reached out to Wilson, and she contacted Tesla. Parks said he then heard from his Tesla representative. Boy, you get the news involved. I don't like that. You, of course, contact them. The next day, I get an email saying it has been processed and a check was you, Wilson. 2 days later, I get a check in the mail overnight. So very happy with the results. Parks refunded amount amounted to about $1,800. Tesla did not get back to Wilson with any comments. So we used to have one in town here where you got with a person and they would go and get with these people, shady businesses and stuff that didn't finish the work, didn't refund money or, whatever it was. So good news out of Durham, although he had to get somebody involved. I just thought it was interesting. It was Tesla. And I've dealt with that. Those extended warranties. You have got to be careful with the extended warranties. why don't you just love insurance companies and dealers and these deals you take out? I mean, man, they got everything. You got to pay attention to fine print. They got everything written in there they can to try to keep you from getting a dime out of them. You think you go along with a false sense of security, thinking you're covered, and you gotta be careful because they will definitely rip you. Oh my goodness, let's try to do one more before we get off here today. These are fun. I like looking around at different places and seeing what's going on, some of the news that pops up because we don't always see that, unless you live in that state, and sometimes even in the state people don't know what's going on. Let's go on over to South Carolina. South Carolina, see if anything pops out. Again, they're covering kind of the same thing about the DEI. They're trying to get that deal because all these state governments going in. We're not going to pull that one up, but let's go to another one. Is and Georgia has dealt with this. If I can pull this story up, because nobody wants nuclear. A lot of people don't want nuclear energy, and it's really hard. They have a dormant one, and this is an article, it's an opinion piece. While South Carolina should be skeptical about reviving the Sumner nuclear plant, Santee Cooper, South Carolina state-owned utility, wants to sell two famously unfinished and abandoned nuclear units. Some South Carolina lawmakers, hold on here, are supporting a plan to revisit the project amid growing interest in using nuclear power to provide for our state's energy needs. Georgia got had an agreement for one to add one at their South Georgia plant, and have done that. But there's not very many nuclear reactors or additions being made to those across the United States. They've really put a clamp on that. And I think you may see some of this now. But anyway, he said, wouldn't it be nice if a corporate savior would agree to pay for resurrecting the old V.C. Sumner nuclear plant that Santee Cooper and SCE&G abandoned 8 years ago after spending $9 billion on the biggest financial boondoggle in South Carolina history? Well, I'm skeptical. And then he brings up the Georgia one. Let's look at Georgia's recent experience building its Vogtle nuclear plant, now built as the nation's largest generator of clean energy. Plans to rebuild that plant were approved in 2009. By the time it was completed last year, it was 7 years behind schedule, and its cost had ballooned from its initial $14 billion to an estimated $36.8 billion. So we did do it. I mean, but yeah, it is a lot of money involved, but it should last for a long time. But it is a money sucker. Those things are, and all the fights, the legal fights that happen with those as well. So this person here in his opinion piece is against it, but it's interesting to see that side. But let's flip to the other side of that, and we'll see where someone says they should be excited about it. And this is from Tom Davis. So here is the counter to that. I like this two counter. He said, imagine spending $9 billion on a project that never sees completion. That's the stark reality of the nuclear reactors Santee Cooper abandoned at the V.C. Sumner Power Station in Fairfield County in 2017. The unfinished reactors are symbols of stalled ambition and sunk cost, burdening utility customers forced to pay for construction before it was done and hindering our state's progress. But now there's a real opportunity to turn this story around, and it's one that all South Carolinians should champion. You might be asking, why revisit a project that's been such a costly failure? How do we ensure history doesn't repeat itself? What's in it for me as a ratepayer or a resident of South Carolina? These are all valid questions. They deserve clear answers. I agree. Santee Cooper's recent decision to solicit private sector bids to purchase and complete the unfinished reactors at the V.C. Sumner site addresses these concerns head on and offers a pathway to significant benefits for our state. Right now, $5.7 billion of the total spent on these reactors remains in the utility's rate base, keeping monthly bills higher for customers of Santee Cooper and Dominion Energy, which acquired Santee Cooper's partner on the project. If private sector companies take it over, that financial burden could be lifted. Completed reactors would remove those sunk costs, providing direct relief to ratepayers and ensuring fair energy costs moving forward. The current system forces all South Carolinians to subsidize the energy needs of private companies like data centers with enormous power demands. A private sector completion, that's another big issue that's going on too, the data centers. Sumner's Units 2 and 3 would shift this burden, requiring the companies that need this energy to shoulder the cost instead of ratepayers. This approach aligns costs with actual usage, creating a more equitable system. Finishing the reactors could add 2,200 megawatts of carbon-free energy to our grid, reinforcing South Carolina's leadership in nuclear power generation. And nuclear energy accounted for 55% of the in-state electricity production in 2022, the third highest in the nation. So there's some others in there if you're interested in that. But that's interesting. And that has been looked at before in other areas. It hasn't always matured into what it could be. TVA has also had things like that. And we remember those, Lord knows TVA's had its as well due to environmental concerns or whatever, where nuclear reactors didn't get finished. And so you think of all the money that was sunk in, all of that. So yeah, absolutely. So anyway, a little bit of news from around the region. We'll do this again. I like doing it. And send me some news articles in your area, and we'll cover them as well, because that's getting down to where you live at, right? And energy is one of those that we're going to be looking at in the days to come. Death penalty sure is going to be abortion. All those are major stories. And yes, this weekend, the Super Bowl. So let's enjoy a good Super Bowl. Just hope for a good game. Hopefully no more bad stories like that. And is an economic boon for that region. And why do these things have to have this violence they have? I don't know who you got. You may not care, but it is a worldwide phenomena, is the Super Bowl. And our military troops, they'll be seeing that on Armed Forces Radio Network and different things to see that game. And it's kind of a tradition. And this is Super Bowl 59. Super Bowl 59. So next year will be 60. That's easy math, right? I'm gonna be headed to work, and we'll be posting a few things along the way when we have time. Again, don't forget in the morning, 8 a.m. Sunday morning in the Word. We'll talk about the Word, absolutely. And Sunday night news desk, we'll dive deeper into some of the political news stories that are affecting you and me in our area and the nation. And there are tons of them. Take care. God bless. Oh, it's also a sports show. Yeah, we're going to do that too. It's Super Bowl weekend. Take care. We appreciate all of you being here. Have a great day. God bless. Thank you for your support of the Southern Fried Podcast. And we've got a new song, and we want to thank our friend. We're going to have him up soon, and maybe we can do some business together for some other tunes. He's done us a solid, though, and I appreciate it. Just got to get loaded. We haven't had it long, and we want to do it justice. It won't be an intro song. It's just going to be our song. We'll put some pictures with it and kind of tell the story of Southern Fried Podcast. We thank you so much to our friend who did that. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon. Salute.
Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show.